Hi, and welcome to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Tharaka Foundation focused on youth mental health. Before we begin today's episode, I just wanted to let you all know that all content that is found in our podcast is created for informational purposes only. This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or therapy. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition, and never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard in this podcast. Thank you so much, and without further ado, let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving. This is your host, Punam here. We are starting a new series today, Career Choice the Intelligent Way. And I'm very super excited to start this new series because we are going to explore the tools, trends, and truths that help us raise thriving kids in a changing world. Today's topic hits home for every parent, the future of education shaping the next generation. What should we really be teaching our kids? What will their world look like in 10, 20 years from now? And how can we, as parents,
So much, Poonam, and thank you to all the people who have been listening. It's always great to talk about the future because that is what we have to give it to our children. The future, I believe, is something very special and unique. And with our little bit of understanding about the brain can make it even more magical. So thank you so much for having me here.
wonderful. So let's start with this. Why does the current education system often fall short in preparing kids for the real world?
Beautiful question. So let's ask ourselves, what really is education? We think education is about reading a textbook and then understanding a concept and then hugging it, possibly hugging the way we do it in our good old times. I come from India. That used to be the way of learning, rote learning. So you open a box and then get all the textbooks inside the box, fill the box, and then after the vacation, if there is even one person who is given the same question paper which is repeated to give the answers, possibly none of us will be able to survive that exam because it was only temporary. Fill it, shut it, forget it. Now that is education. But I strongly feel, in the way the education should be, let us go back to our ancient wisdom. Let us go back to the times of where Gurukul used to be there. What was the fundamental of Gurukul? The idea of Gurukul was the student comes in, does a lot of service, the guru or the teacher understands what is the mindset of the child, what is the brain set of the child, what is the soul set, what is the heart set, and then the education was given in a way where you actually come out with wisdom. So the wisdom was transferred and not really education. So I strongly feel that in the current modern day education, it is only about getting a degree, but then you often fail in the real life. You get a lot of gold medals and you get a lot of accolades, but then when an emotional test comes in, you just completely fail. So when there is a holistic approach to live a life where you can not just have the professional success or the top career success, but also be successful in life, may it be relationships, may it be fulfillment of all the family issues that are coming up, everything which is done with that wisdom, that is real education.
I fully agree with you, Dr. Shweta. I say success is a package, right? And academic is only that small part. But life is a
Absolutely.
journey. And in this journey, we need to have life skills in addition to education. So beautiful. So my next question to you, what does the future at work and life actually looks like for our kids?
So let me go back to my times. So I come from India and I still remember until the age of 25, which is shocking to a lot of Gen Z kids, when I'm talking to Gen Z or Gen Alpha, and I say I got my first computer at the age of 25, where I was already a medical doctor. I was already, my MD medicine degree was already conferred upon me, and they just won't believe that. So that was the time when we actually did not have any technical overhaul as though what what we have right now. So the current modern times is very different times. Today we have digitally completely savvy kids which are around, right? And the future, with all the AI, artificial intelligence, and all the future careers which are going to come, is going to be a very, very different world altogether. Now let's look at 2020, 2030, 2040, 2050 as we progress. And that is what we have mentioned in the book as well. As we progress, there's going to be a fundamental shift in how the world of work will be. We already saw with COVID, there was a large shift in the hybrid workforce. A lot of people started to work from home. People started to have portfolio careers, which means one, two, three, four, multiple types of careers which people started to have. People also started to take very serious this about their hobbies, that if I have a very good, I'm extremely good at a certain hobby, I would rather also make some extra career out of it. So all this was never there before, because we used to live in an industrial time where it used to be only about industry 1.0, then 2.0, 3.0. Everything was linear. You have to make certain products, you have to have certain type of people coming out, certain type of careers and jobs which come out. But now the current time, with the AI, with the modern system, with the type of the jobs and all, we are going to have a very, very different world of work which is going to be there. Let me give a couple of examples, and it is very fascinating. There's going to be something called the memory curator, which will be one of the jobs. Like, for example, if I have a certain memory stack, there'll be somebody who will be curating, sitting and curating my memories. There's going to be somebody who's going to take care of bionic limbs, so there would be people only taking care of certain types of the limbs. There will be not just cyber security experts, or people who are just taking care of, let's say, the cloud and the infrastructure in the computer, etc. There are going to be techno humans, or the humanoid forms of robots, which will be helping us. So in the workforce also, we will be having such people along, where there will be some more people who will be taking care of them. So it's going to be a very, very interesting world altogether coming forwards.
I'm glad you talked about that. I myself is a professional software industry professional. Yesterday, I attended a women conference here at the Bay Area. It was IEEE Women in Engineering Leadership, and we talked about the AI world. We talked about humanoids, and it was fascinating to see what future we are thinking about, what we are bringing into real life. I have seen all those things in movies, but now things are changing. So I wanted to,
Absolutely.
yeah, another good question is coming to my mind. As a neurologist, you have a unique perspective. What does brain science say about how kids really learn the best?
Hmm. First of all, my getting into neurology was a little bit of a story. So there are two kinds of marriages in India. There's love marriage and arranged marriage. There are two kinds of careers: love career and arranged career. Mine was 100% an arranged career. I got a lot of marks, didn't know where to go. My parents were both into medical fields. They said, go try medicine, and I, with a condition, said, if I don't like, I will be quitting. And they said, perfectly fine. So with the pretext of trying medicine, I get into medicine, and then 5 years of MBBS, 1 year of internship, 1 year of pre-medicine, 3 years of medicine, 1 year of pre-neurology, 3 years of neurology, 2 years of stroke. It just went on, continued. But I started to love it. So the arrange became love. And neurology was so fascinating. I mean, in the entire brain, the makeup of the brain, the complexity of it, at the same time, the simplicity of it, understanding the brain itself was a thorough joy for me. And then, as I completed my studies, and then I wondered, am I doing the right stuff? I was already doing a job by then as a neurologist. And this question kept on coming to me. So this is, say, about 20, 12 to 15 years back. And I said, why don't I take help of science to understand, is my brain wired for this? Am I capable of doing the tasks what are going to come forth for me as a doctor? Can I do something else? Am I capable of doing beyond what my degree is? So when all these questions came in, I was sitting one day sipping a cup of coffee in Calgary. Very, very cold. It was minus 40 degrees Celsius outside, complete white snowball effect. Nothing was seen. And I wondered, let me figure this out by giving myself 6 months. I took a complete off for 6 months. I did all the psychometric assessments. I took every single career advice. So I started to, blow off all the money that I earned in my residency just to figure out what is best for me. How is my brain working? What is the way in which I know what are my capacities and how can I build those capacities? So, to the surprise, there was so much of literature which I had to go through. So, about 72 odd psychometric assessments came in. I went and gave every single of them. I met experts from Australia, from Canada, from US, from India, you name it, and I would just put up an appointment with them. And my friend said that, you are already having a beautiful degree. You're already a neurologist. You're in fact a stroke neurologist. There were only some 6,000 odd stroke neurologists in the world, and you are still searching for it. I said that's the beauty of the brain, right? There's nothing enough for the brain. You can always do something more. You can always challenge it. You can always grow it. And that's why currently I lead a lab called Limitless Brain Lab, because it's essentially limitless. So when I understood with all those psychometric assessments, one assessment sort of shook me. One of the top assessments, which even Forbes has mentioned to be, it is based on whole brain thinking. I see your logo also. We want to have whole child, we want to bring in the whole children across. So when I went through that whole brain thinking, it led me and it gave me a lot of answers as to how my brain is thinking, what is the way in which I prefer to do a certain tasks, what are the things that I can do even better, what are my strengths, how can I build my weaknesses, what can I do to have all the perspectives of the brain right. From then on, my journey into digging it deeper, knowing more about it started to happen. And I started to interview a lot of kids who were about to choose their career, and a lot of parents along with it. Now, look at the Asian way of choosing a career. Look at the Western way of choosing a career. Look at how careers are chosen in Australia. So every part of the world had very unique nuances to the entire career choice method. And when I was interviewing a lot of parents, I was interviewing a lot of kids, I came across a little formula. I said, if you are able to put across a little formula and you know your brain's capabilities, which are hardwired, which means tomorrow I can change, but it's rather that I use that as my strength. I use that to put my first foot forwards and then come out of it to do the best to the world. So when I started to understand that mathematical formula, a lot of things came in. What about interests? How should we rely on interest when we are choosing a career? But interests are very flimsy. You keep on developing interest, dropping interest, developing interest. The interests never consolidate until the age of 30 or 35. Now, if I was not a neurologist, I would not know all these nuances of the career choices. So, as a neurologist, it became very fascinating to me, because finally we were using all those brain fundamentals and applying it to this career choice. And at a certain point, I stopped telling it as career choice. At a certain point, I stopped calling it as profession or a job. It is really about the calling. Can I understand what is my calling? If I know my true calling, the day and night really does not matter. The efforts are not efforts. Then, you're just seamlessly working towards it. So that is where neuroscience had a very significant role to play in fundamentally understanding how am I thinking? How am I wired? What I can give best to the world? What is it that I need to build upon? What are the skills that over the period of time that I can have? What kind of environment is good for me? We are all different types of brains. So we cannot be just having a single sort of an environment, the way in which 50 people are studying the same way, another 50 studies. It's not how the brain works. So customizing it, personalizing it, giving those insights, making sure the parents get that toolkit to them, because it is very important, as you rightly mentioned, learning. Even in the family, if there are two kids, definitely they will be having two distinct learning demands. One person would be just keeping the television on, the fast radio would be on, there'll be a loudspeaker which is out there, and the child is wondering, I was never able to do that, and the child is able to do that. And then there's another kid who wants everything quiet and who wants nobody talking when the child is studying, because of the wiring of the brain, because the way we are wired distinctly, we behave in a certain way. So our studying styles, our learning styles, the environment which is important for support, how are we taught by the teacher, what is the way in which the teacher is presenting, all this makes a very big difference in the outcome. So hence, calling, going to the calling, making sure that you're serving your brain by finally, doing all those things which is your natural preference. That eases out life. So when I completed all these inquiry and everything, and then I wondered, wow, I'm also a creative person. I also love to make some form of an innovative discovery. I'm not just a typical doctor who would walk in and then have certain patients and then finish 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock, go back home. That was not my calling, neither was my brain's preference. So that is what led me to change, explore a lot of things. And in fact, I wanted to do my MBA in finance. And I was already 36, 37 by then. A lot of MBA counselors told me, Doc, you're too old. No MBA school would take you. And I said, I mean, we study for so long, should not be a criteria for rejection or a bar for not getting into the MBA school. No, everybody said, no, you can't do maths because you have to clear your GMAT. And I said, look, that's my calling. I need to integrate business studies. I need to integrate medicine. I need to integrate innovation and then come up with something which can impact the world. And I would write amazing essays, and still, the MBA consultants would keep on telling me, no, you're too old, it's not going to happen. GMAT, Punam, I still remember those times. I was already practicing as a doctor, and then I had to go through these GMAT exams, right? You just practice, practice, practice. First time I gave in, miserable score. The second time I go, even miserable. The third time I wasn't feeling well. I don't know what I did. Out. Fourth time, out. Nothing happened. Fifth time, bad scores. And then the sixth time, I started to doubt myself. I said, oh my God, I think all the people who were telling me that you're too old and maths is not your forte, I think they were right. And then I did not lose my courage. I said, I am not giving up. Resilience is in my blood. I'm B positive, the blood group. I said, I'm going to go, and I kept on giving seventh time, eighth time, ninth time. I do get very good scores. And I apply to all the MBA schools, writing exactly the thing that I just spoke to you about, that, look, I'm a doctor. We are never taught skills to expand ourselves. We are never taught in a formal way the global scaling. I want to work at scale. I want to help people at large. I want to build something which is very unique. I want to get to people who are struggling either with health or conflicts and confusions about their life, for example, career choice. So I want all those tools to be learned by getting an MBA. Very standard sort of an essay, but I gave my heart and soul to it, saying this is my true intention. To the surprise, every school called me for an interview. Even MIT Sloan, I was waitlisted in their program. I got Cambridge with full scholarship. I got INSEAD. I got Oxford. So pretty much all the schools invited me. And finally, I chose to go to Cambridge at the age of 40. And I wrote back to all my consultants that, look, I reached you about 3 or 4 years back, 37, when I was 37, when you said this was not possible. So this is how the calling works. This is how the brain's resilience works. This is how knowing yourself works. There is no age bar or age gap. When I completed my MBA, and then of course I worked with United Nations, and then I was able to work with a very large group in UAE. It's called Arabian Healthcare Group, as their operations director. I got to learn so much. And then of course right now with the lab, all those learnings are being applied directly. So to every single person who is listening to this, I strongly feel that if you are very keen on self discovery, if you want to understand yourself, what is your core? What is your calling? What is your ikigai? Ikigai is a very beautiful book, which is, I think, from Calgary, the author from Calgary. And then you sort of go on to have the courage, to have that resilience, to make sure that you make it happen. The world is an open sky. You can just do wonders with any kind of talent that you have.
Wow, what a fascinating story, Doctor. So many thoughts were coming to my mind when I was listening to you. The self-awareness is the key here, and sky is the limit, and I am possible. Age is
Absolutely.
no bar. Yep, you proved it. You proved it. Age is no bar. And if I love what I do, I will do it forever without feeling labor. So beautiful. I wanted to ask another question. So, what can we as parents start doing differently so that our kids know their calling in the beginning? They don't need to struggle, they don't need to, feel labor. They just thrive wherever they are?
Beautiful. What a beautiful question you asked. I mean, I'm not a parent, but I interact with lots of parents in my journey of writing the book Future Ready Now. And even beyond right now, we are coming up with a startup which is called My Limitless Brain. It's a parenting tech startup for teenagers 12 to 18. How do we give the toolkit for the parents to understand their children, to give them the right resources, to develop their whole brain skills, how to make sure that what is the best which can get to the world out through them. So all this, as I keep talking about it in various forums, and then the entire product is also going to be launched in September. The one key thing that every single parent must understand is that every child is unique. The potentials of every child is very, very special. You cannot have comparables. You should not be comparing. That individual brain needs to flower. And how can it flower? When you understand that brain. So the very first prerequisite is do these assessments, understand how your child is thinking, what are the hard wiring patterns, what are the soft wiring patterns, match that behavior of yours with the kid, do some family dynamics, because all this is possible in the current era. Once you know that, then now do a little bit of a deep dive into what are your parenting skills, how are you giving that environment in the home. Now, lot of parents come and say, but the kids don't get off the screens, they're constantly working on the video game, they're constantly glued to their televisions. I said, what are you doing? Is there a mirror? So there's something called the mirror neuron. If you are continuously doing that and you expect your kids to behave differently, that's not going to happen. What you are showcasing is what you are literally transferring passively into the behaviors of your children. So what is that self discovery for the parents? What is the family dynamics, right? What are the resources that you can bring it in? What is the time, the quality time that you can spare with your kid? In that time, what are the values that you want the child to come up with? Because as I said, people may have degrees and people may have lots and lots of accolades and all that, and a one simple emotional test of life and you can get crushed. And if you read a lot of news which comes out from certain states in India, the child got 99% and then a week later the child hanged himself. Why? What happened? There's something emotional which went wrong. I mean, this is what is not acceptable, right? The wholesome development of the brain comes in by giving all the right ingredients of that growth and development. So we, in our My Limitless Brain platform, we call it flow and grow. So when we understand what are the strengths of children, allow that to flow. You don't want to fix all the weaknesses. Take the weakness in the growth part, but let the flow be three times more than the grow one time. As Indian, Asian parents, and I understand that's a case with a lot of Southeast Asian parents. They want their children to top, everything should be perfect, they should be getting the most marks, they should be having all the medals, they should be number one in dictation, spellings, this, that, all the UN model, all the competitions. Well, that's great, but are you having this formula? Because you don't want to just have a lopsided development of the brain. Now let me give you a very, very simple example. If I'm driving a car, I'm looking right up straight. That is my front mirror. But there's also a little rear mirror which I have to look into. Now, do I continuously keep on looking at the rear mirror? I might land up with an accident. This rear mirror is my weaknesses, is something which I have to work upon as grow. That has to be less. That is just intermittently. But I have to focus on my strengths. I have to ride my car absolutely looking straight on, which is flowering, flowing with the strengths of children. Now, a lot of parents, if they spend enough time scientifically in the initial age group between the age of 13 to 16, because that's a crucial age, lots of hormones popping up, midlife crisis for parents, lots of choices, curriculum choices and subject choices and confusions of careers, and God alone knows what all is happening, right? And parents feel that their children don't listen. I mean, you look at yourselves, you just go back in time. Were you even listening to your parents then? It's all a frontal shut which is there, because the frontal cortex is not available for these teenagers. The frontal cortex is the key pillar for understanding anything, allowing you to discriminate, to have the judgment, to know what's right, to know how the future is coming, to do all the right kind of things for it, have the patience, have the emotional regulation. While that's not available to them, that availability happens only by the age of 23 or 24. In fact, US at some point was wondering if we need to increase the age of voting, because in 18 you don't have your frontal cortex with you. What are you going to vote? Who are you going to vote? So until the age of 24, you don't even have your major resource of the brain available to you. So, taking all these scientific facts into account, the parenting style has to be modulated. It is like, having a car. If I know that there's a Bugatti or a Ferrari, and the particular way the key is operational, the particular way the brake and this happens, the particular way I need to accelerate, decelerate, the way the wheels are working, that is exactly how the parents must get all the information about the child's brain, and putting all the efforts into flow and grow, and then making sure that they are crafting the exceptional human beings. I feel as parents, they are given the license to actually bring out the souls and the humans which can transform this entire universe. So if they use it to their best abilities by first educating themselves, being aware about the potentials for themselves and the kids, working towards it, again, we can have some amazing magic in the world. In the lab, there's interesting data that we have. So we study peak performers. So people who have done some amazing work. Since I'm also speaking to a US audience as well, one person who's a very dear friend of mine is coming to my mind right now. Her name is Nicole. She stood on Burj Khalifa. I don't know if you guys saw the advertisement where she was holding the Emirates Airlines. I think there was a banner which was there. And she literally stood and did that stunt by standing on Burj Khalifa. Now, as I was chatting with her, we have her brain in the library. So Limitless Brain Lab likes to collect all these brains so that we can give the parents that sort of an overview of how a peak performer's brain works, so that we can help the young generation to sort of draw that inspiration, and then work towards their brain. So her history was very interesting for me. She had car accident in which she had some 7 or 8 bones which were fractured. She could not get up from the ICU for 6 months. And then she has the resilience to go and stand on Burj Khalifa. So, what is that wiring? What is that made of in her brain that is allowing her to do that? So, and when we study people who are musicians, who feel that they get lost when they are in their music performance, we have some mathematicians, people like memory champions. All of us have the same brain. As we are growing, we may have plus minus some form of an environmental little bit of a change, let's put it that way, some little genetic this plus minus, but eventually the effort with that we all can put can be just exactly the same effort, right? So how do they become those peak performers, and how can we make sure we as parents allow our children to uncover that limitless potential? And potential for what? That is also again a very important thing. Potential not to make $1 billion. Yes, great to have $1 billion, great to have all the cars and all the luxuries in the world, but to build something which is related to your core happiness, contentment, fulfillment. No parent ever is going to say, I don't want happiness for my kid. I'm yet to come across such a parent who does not want happiness for their children. So we are all striving, we are doing all this only and only to uncover that, happiness which can happen by basically being in that flow, developing the brain in that flow state.
Dr. Shweta, I will tell you, I'm a parent and one daughter, one son, and I can relate with everything you said. Very different personalities, different inclination. I did not know how to fulfill my responsibility as a parent. I'm glad that you are guiding other parents, you are providing them tools, you're providing them insights, but fully agree with that happiness part. Even not only for our kids, right? We even adults want to be happy, healthy, and feel safe and bring our wholesome to the work or wherever we go. So what I'm learning from you, we can design the life for ourselves as well as our future kids, future generation, not by forcing them, but bringing the full potential, nurturing them, growing them, providing that environment. You talked about parents are the role models, the value based living that is so crucial
Absolutely.
in today's world. So it has been so powerful talking to you. And your message is so much resonating with me, and I'm sure many, many more parents who are trying to navigate a fast changing world and they want to do best for their kids. So I really appreciate you taking time and sharing all the wisdom with us. To all our listeners, your child does not need to be best at everything. They just need the space and support to become the best versions of themselves. And that's what future ready really means. Pick up Dr. Shweta's book, Future Ready Now, and start reimagining your role, not as a director, but as a designer of possibility. Thank you for
Beautiful.
listening. Yep. Until next
Beautiful.
time, let's stay curious, stay open, and stay connected. Thank you, Dr. Shweta.
Wow. Mhm. Thank you so much. I love the your last thing. Let's be the designer and not the directors of our children's life. Thank you so much. And let's grow their brains absolutely customized, personalized to their best potentials and give the best to the world and planet at large. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You are listening to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Tharaka Foundation. As part of our youth series, we will be releasing new episodes every Friday, so make sure to continue to check those out. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and thank you so much for listening.